Hello everyone. Welcome to News Streaks. Welcome to Civilsdaily IAS. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm Venus Avtani. So today we'll be discussing the newspaper analysis of 2nd of January 2024. So here we'll discuss the most important news out of today, the articles which I have taken. And apart from that, we'll also in-depth discuss about those articles as to what is their depth, particularly the important facts or some historical evolution or where it could help in your exam. So before that, if you could, every one of you can just say hello to me on the chat so I'll be able to understand that, okay, I am audible here. So then we'll start with the news analysis of today. So before, so till everyone says hello. So till that time period, let's just first of all discuss the most happening event which happened yesterday. So we yesterday had launched ExpoSat. Now here we'll discuss about ExpoSat. You know, this was in coming for a few days, like for a few years. This was about to happen, and we were still discussing that. Hello Nitin, hello Gopi. So yeah, hello everyone. So yes. So here let's just discuss what was in making for past 15 years. Now this is, and as we can understand, this is Indian Space Initiative. Now what do you think have been the questions asked with regard to Indian Space Initiatives? Do ISRO and ISRO's efforts calculate here? Do they count here? Do we prepare them wholeheartedly for the exam? What exactly do we prepare? If anyone of you might be aware, you might have seen the PYQs, right? What exactly do we prepare in ISRO missions? Do we just prepare the difference between PSLV and GSLV? Or do we also connect it to the space-based concepts here? Acha, how many of you have heard about black holes? Anyone heard about black holes here? What are black holes? Asha, I would ask a very basic question here about stars. You might be aware sun is a star. Now, in this, I'll explain from this concept how are we moving towards ExpoSat initiative. But firstly, just explain me that why in our sun, why are you able to see light? Matlab ki, suppose this is a star, this is sun. Now, why does it happen that inside this there is fusion which occurs of hydrogen and helium? Why does this fusion occur? Students might be aware, they might have read science and tech. This fusion does occur, है ना? So you might be aware about the fusion. Objectives of the mission, yes, we read about objectives of the mission, right, Gopi? And apart from that, we also prepare basic concepts about space. Apart from that, we also focus on the years a little bit. And we also focus on some partners if there are any, some comparison with international space initiatives and so on and so forth. So yes, long chain. What do we mean by long chain here, Gopi? With regard to the fusion. So I'll just explain. Look, this is a star. Now what happens? There is gravity here because this is massive, and this is a star, massive mass. Now there will be gravity. So what will happen? There will be push towards inside. Why? Because look, this massive mass is compressing the center from all the sides. Now, when this massive mass is compressing the center from all the sides, it should witness a lot of gravity. A lot of just imagine this way, huge compression. Now there will be huge compression, atoms will be so fused together, so naturally there will be fusion. Now if this is fusion, what will happen here? There will be fusion, release of energy, and this energy will counter your gravity. Suppose your gravity is black arrows, then this fusion energy will counter the black arrows, है ना? So there are two energies now. अब ये two energies, now there will be interplay of these two energy. One is gravity, one is your fusion energy. One outside, one inside. So what will happen? Interplay, fighting amongst these two forces, as you can imagine, fighting among these two forces. That means now what will happen after some point of time here to this star? If this is a massive star, suppose this is bigger than the size of the sun, like 15 times bigger than the size of the sun. If this is a massive star, then what happens? That there is one day what will happen? Because the gravity will win in a massive star, fusion will happen from hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium. You might have heard about the periodic table in your childhood. So, all the atoms, all the elements which go on from here, this will happen. After that, what will happen? This will turn into iron. Have you heard about D block elements, students? Have you heard about heavy metals here? What will happen? This will gradually turn towards the heavier elements. आपस में कोलाइड होते होते हेवी टाइप के एटम्स बनेंगे. जब हेवी बन गए, उसके बाद क्या होगा? नो एनर्जी ट्रांसफर. मतलब एक ब्लॉक जो यहाँ पर आयन रहेगा, एंड देन ग्रेविटी उसको कॉन्स्टेंटली पुट कर रही है, कॉन्स्टेंटली उसको प्रेशर डाल रही है. तो क्या होगा? आपका एक बहुत ही छोटा आपके पास एक सेंटर आएगा, और उस सेंटर में होगा क्या? दैट आई टेल. दैट लुक, दिस इज द सेंटर हियर. अब इस सेंटर में देर इज दिस आयन, वेरी स्मॉल कंडेंस्ड मास, दी like Mount Everest at a very small place, like the mass of all the human beings of the earth at a particular point in just one cube. This is the significance here. ये होगा. And then apart from that massive collapse, so what will happen? You'll get a mass which is spiraling at this rate. अब ये मास जब आपका स्पाइरल होगा तो क्या होगा? लुक, दिस इज द मास हियर, दिस इज स्पाइरलिंग. यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक एनर्जी है, बिकॉज ऑफ द स्पाइरलिंग इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है, मूव कर रहे हैं आपस में. यहाँ पे देर इज अ स्फीयर हियर, मैग्नेटिज्म रिलीज हो रहा है, हाई एनर्जी पार्टिकल्स हैं जो आपकी हाई एनर्जी वेव्स रिलीज कर रही हैं. And from here, the significance of your initiative starts. Why? Because this high energy waves, finally, यहाँ पर X-rays release होंगी. Are you aware, people, about the electromagnetic spectrum? X-rays कहाँ पर lie करती हैं inside electromagnetic spectrum? Gopi, can you answer? Inside electromagnetic spectrum, where does gamma ray located? एज पर एक्सरे ले, मतलब गामा रेस की एनर्जी एक्सरे से ज्यादा होती है या कम होती है? और व्हाट इज इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिज्म या इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव क्या होती है? इफ एनीवन कैन टेल मी हियर, नितिन, कैन यू टेल हियर व्हाट इज द इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक स्पेक्ट्रम? आपने कुछ पढ़ा है इस बारे में? देन आई विल एक्सप्लेन द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ दिस इनिशिएटिव जो हमने कल लॉन्च किया है, दैट इज एक्सपोसैट. बिकॉज यू सी कॉन्सेप्ट्स जरूरी है हियर. सो एनीवन कैन टेल हियर what is exactly X-rays? Have you read about electromagnetic spectrum in your science and tech? Or have you heard about S and W waves? S and W waves, Kopi, what do we mean by it? So I'll just explain it. What do I mean? Look, waves हैं universe में. Now what happens? Electrons, you might be knowing electrons when they travel. So what happens is that these traveling electrons often release magnetic waves, है ना? So there is magnetism often around traveling electrons. This is the law. Now what happens in these waves in electromagnetic spectrum, which form the basic of your universe? Most of the waves on earth are electromagnetic in nature. Yes, जहां पर एक electrical component है, then in the particular direction maybe there is a magnetic component है. Yes. And so what happens here? Electric as well as magnetic component. If you put these waves in a current, magnetic component bhi change hoga. Likewise, if you change the magnetic nature, electric nature bhi change hoga. Now, this we read generally in childhood about electromagnetic spectrum. So, have you heard about radio or the equipments we use in our daily life? Microwave. Have you heard about these, people? What comes from V? V for which type of light? अच्छा, यूवी के बारे में किसी ने सुना है? लोअर देन इलेक्ट्रिक एंड मैग्नेटिक फील्ड परपेंडिकुलर टू ईच अदर. यस, गुड लक यादव. यस, दैट्स राइट. Infrared, yes, I for infrared here. V for what is there? V for answer me. Then we have X-rays here. Then we have gamma rays. As I had asked, gamma rays are high energy compared to X-rays. And then we have finally cosmic rays here, है ना? Now here, when we go from here to here, how do you remember it? Simple trick, I used to use it all the time. रमी वक्सी का मतलब simple है, कोई यहाँ पर trick नहीं है. Why? Because you are just taking the first words and just remembering it, रमी वक्सी का. Anyhow, just remember it. This will help you in application अराउंड योर एग्जाम्स, मतलब आपसे कोई भी वेव पूछी है रिगार्डिंग माइक्रोवेव, रेडियो वेव, इंफ्रारेड, ऑल ऑफ दैट, यू कैन कंपेयर द एनर्जी एनी टाइम एंड इट विल हेल्प यू अंडरस्टैंड फिनोमिनन्स of low energy as well as high energy. That is why I am recommending it to remember. Violet, visible light. Yes, visible light is right, Amod. So visible light is right. Visible light में हमारी sun की जो rays हैं, light, actually light we say, that is also comes in visible spectrum. So as you move into the upper directions, energy increases, frequency of wave increases. Frequency मतलब कि this type of wave, lower frequency मतलब this type of wave, रेडियो में ये वाली होती है, कॉस्मिक में जाते जाते दिस टाइप ऑफ वेव ऑकर्स. यू सी, एट द सेम टाइम इन द सेम पॉइंट अ कंडेंस सॉर्ट ऑफ वेव्स आर कमिंग इनटू दैट पॉइंट. मतलब होगा क्या, दिस इज हाई एनर्जी. अब आप देखो यहां पर हमने क्या डिस्कस किया था न्यूट्रॉन स्टार में. एक स्टार है, कोलैप्स हो गया, न्यूट्रॉन स्टार बन गया, बहुत तेजी से रोटेट कर रहा है, बहुत सारी एनर्जी है, एंड दिस इज ऑफन कॉल्ड एज पल्सार्स, जिसका डिस्क्रिप्शन आपके इस एडिटोरियल में भी मेंशन्ड है. सो दिस इज, वी आर डिस्कसिंग ऑल ऑफ दैट बिकॉज इस सबका डिस्क्रिप्शन है. क्या आपने पल्सर्स के बारे में पहले सुना है? हैव यू हर्ड ऑफ इट? So I'll just ask a basic question again here, which comes in, which comes in news again and again. So there are two such neutron stars now. Imagine these two neutron stars are rotating around each other. These are rotating, है ना? These are revolving, and finally what happens? These are revolving in the direction here, in clockwise, both of them. After this, what happens? ये जब एक दूसरे से interact करेंगे and revolve करेंगे, what happens finally in the end? You have to guess that. That's very common. We have also discussed that once here in the analysis itself. तो आइडिया क्या है? आइडिया स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पर ये है that ये सारी आपकी वेव्स जनरेट हुई, इसमें से एक्स रेज इज वन. हाई एनर्जी, जो हाई सेलेस्टियल पार्टिकल्स, न्यूट्रॉन स्टार्स हैं, हमारे पल्सर्स हैं, ये सारे हाई एनर्जी पार्टिकल्स रिलीज कर रहे हैं. एंड टू कैप्चर दैट we have brought up this XPOSAT mission. अब इस XPOSAT में also there are two types of instruments here inside XPOSAT. The names are mentioned in your editorial. What is there? One is for polarimetry. Polarimetry क्या होता है? Collapse inside the black hole collision. Yes, very nice, Amod. Very nice, Gopi. So what happens? There is collision between the two. Of these two high energy, masses, massive dense masses, when they'll collapse, they'll form a black hole, which will be able to absorb everything which comes near to it. And then what happens? So see, understand, when the universe was forming up, when the universe was in its formation, तब क्या हुआ होगा? Stars ऐसे बने होंगे, and after that these stars might have gone into fusion. You see, there might have been some process, and then many of them might have converted into neutron stars. So if you try to understand the X-rays coming up from pulsars and neutron stars, you will be better able to understand the formation of stars, the dying up of stars, the material of stars, comparison of those with respect to Earth and our solar system, and you'll be able to further discover the groundbreaking discoveries here. Only if their collective mass is greater than the Chandrasekhar limit. Yes. So stars, if they are bigger than the bigger than the Chandrasekhar limit in terms of mass, then they form these type of things like neutron stars and black holes. Otherwise, they'll convert into something else if their mass is smaller than the Chandrasekhar limit. So very good, Amod. Very good mention here. So, so this will happen. Now, what is there? What do we want here? Do we just want to study the hard sort of X-rays coming up from here? Because, this is not the initiative to understand the X-rays around the world. This is one of them. Earlier, NASA had also tried to study the X-rays, but NASA had tried to do in terms of soft X-rays. Soft X-rays matlab, that means soft ones. Higher wavelength, less frequency. But hard means ye wali, high energy, low wavelength, coming at a very condensed sort of nature. That is why these are called as hard X-rays. Now, why we are trying to study these? Because ye type ke phenomena happen in the heart zone often because of the high energy here, which is releasing up. Are we able to understand the concepts here? Just say yes in the comment boxes if you are able to understand. So now coming back क्या है आर्टिकल में लिखा हुआ, क्या दो टाइप के इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं which we are mentioning here. So this is the overall article about exposat. And now look, this is polix, Indian X-ray polarimeter. This is quietly written here. This was formed at Raman Institute in Bangalore. So what it will do, polarimeter, polarization. What do we understand by polarization, people? What do we mean by polarization of light? Any idea? What is the meaning of polarization? Yes, 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 yes. Very nice. So what is the meaning of polarization here, people? Engineer, can you answer it? Polarization. What happens here in polarization? देखो light है, now electromagnetic है, अलग अलग directions हैं. As I told, electric component in one, magnetic component in one. Now what happens here? Look, these phenomenons occur, high energy waves releasing in all the directions. That means these type of waves will have components in all the directions. X, Y, Z directions, all the 3, 4 directions which we can imagine. Now, if this will happen, then it becomes difficult to characterize from where these X-rays did come up, what is the property of these X-rays. If you are able to not categorize the property of these X-rays, तो कैसे जानोगे what is the property of the original stars or original pulsars? So that is why if you do polarize, मतलब put a filter here, simply put a filter and just get one of the light in one of the direction. मतलब just filter out, let's example the red lights and just get the blue lights, only the blue lights in one direction. क्या होगा? Easy होगा study करना. And after this you can study the property of these X-rays, and after studying the properties you can also know about the original star here. And original star मतलब phenomenons, even black holes, neutron stars, pulsars, आप सब कुछ study कर सकते हो. So this is one idea about the polarization of the X-rays. And that is the importance of this initiative which has been coming up. So this is there. Now the other instrument is X-spect here. Matlab, what do we mean by spectrum? Look, here we saw the spectrum, hai na? Yes or no? In the starting, did we saw the spectrum here of the electromagnetic waves? So yes, so dispersion, yes, 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 yes. So yes, filtering, yes, you are right, people. So yes, that's what I wanted to ask here. So now again answer, Engineer Gopi. So what do we mean by spectrum here? Or what do we mean by studying the spectrum here? स्पेक्ट्रम से आपका क्या मतलब है? स्पेक्ट्रा, स्पेक्ट्रम, ये वर्ड्स क्या है? सो नेक्स्ट वाला इंस्ट्रूमेंट किस चीज के लिए यूज होगा? फॉर व्हाट विल यूज दिस इंस्ट्रूमेंट, पीपल? इफ एनी वन ऑफ यू कैन आंसर. देखो हमने यहाँ पे पढ़ा स्पेक्ट्रम मतलब कि ये अलग अलग वेव्स हैं, सेम इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव. इफ यू distribute it, if you divide it into multiple components to study it, that is called as spectrum. अलग अलग frequencies, अलग अलग wavelengths की light को you are studying into a wide spectra so that you can characterize it and you can further study कौन सी frequency में most presence of electromagnetic waves is there and कौन सी frequency में there is less presence. मतलब helping for further categorization and studying of the original source from which it is coming up. This is the idea of the spectrum. मतलब let's example X-rays को spectrum में divide करना. That means suppose this is X-rays. Now divide it into multiple spectrums. This, that, multiple spectrums. These are more harder ones. These might be softer ones. Now what you try to do? You try to study this, that how much of the wave lies here in each of these spectrums so that you will be able to further categorize that, okay, this is the most frequent sort of wave having the most frequency in this zone. मतलब इसके according original source जो है वो कौन से type का matter होगा. So this is the second part here. Now here you have to also think about innovation. What innovation we have done here? Because as you might be aware, India often does innovation in terms of space initiatives. We launch often the most cheapest sort of initiatives into the space, which are also sometimes the most efficient. That we try to do. And apart from that also we use new technologies. जैसे मार्स ऑर्बिटर मिशन में हमने slingshot technology use की थी. So these type of initiatives we often do. So here also we have utilized a different technology compared to NASA's mission. So what idea is here? Let's discuss that. What different we have done here. So exactly what different we have done here, that is written here. So what happens here? Look, NASA, what did it do? It, it chose a gas, and then what did it do? That the atoms of the gas are stripped of electrons. So these are X-rays. They'll choose a gas. This X-rays will strike here, and after that, what will happen? They'll be stripped off of electrons. Then we'll study these electrons to understand about the X-rays. So this was what NASA did. But what India did it differently. This is also written there that a scientist from TSIR, what did he do? He invented this Polix, and what did we do? At the core of it, we chose beryllium as a component. This is a chamber, this is gas here, these are, receptors here, this is beryllium. Now what we do? We choose X-ray here, and after that, after it is reflected, we'll study the property of these coming at these chambers, at the surface of these chambers. And after reflecting, after it is reflected, scattered, then we'll understand the properties that, okay, what sort of, what sort of reception we are having with respect to the X-rays being reflected or scattered. And then we'll study these. And from then we'll categorize that what is the what is the type of X-rays coming from here, so that will be understand what will be the source exactly here. So this is how that is different. This is how this phenomena of NASA is different than this phenomena of ISRO. Studying the whole electromagnetic rays by dividing them according to their frequency and wavelength. Yes, that's right. Hello, hello, Sumaya. So we were discussing about the newspaper analysis here. Hello, Anim. So anime, very nice. So people are trying to interact, so good. So this is the idea here. You can also discuss how do you want to further have this analysis further initiative, what changes do you want in the comment boxes. That also I'll be able to further incorporate for the convenience of our students. So let's further move forward. So this was our topic. Now what you have to remember here, the basic concept, the fact that beryllium is being used in the second part regarding the spectrum study here, the fact that there will be polarization in the first part of the mission, the first type, there are two parts here of exposat, the fact that this is important mission because this will provide some groundbreaking discoveries for the universe, and this is how we should go forward about it. So this was our first topic. If understandable, you can also mention yes in the comment boxes. Next, we'll come to the next topic here about GST. Now, this is very surprising because rarely it happens that the GST revenues dip to certain level or the GST revenues dip. You see the data here from the ministry itself that the GST revenues are increasing. If you see the pattern, they are increasing. From what extent? When we had started, like from, if we compare it from 2 years earlier, December 2021, around 1.3 lakh crores. Now what is there? Now we have almost touched 1.5 lakh crores, even crossing it at certain levels, 1.6, 1.7 at certain points of time, like around April 2023. Have you seen one thing? Have you observed in this, in this pie chart, if we see, around April comes a major peak in both the years, around 2022 also, 2023 also. Why there is a peak in April? Very commonsensical based question. What Amud, what advantage does beryllium offer against this gas used by NASA? So here, what's there is that when, because when you have to ionize X-rays into a gas as NASA is doing, then the atmosphere which will have to keep it to have that gas for interaction into the X-rays, that first of all is expensive, and then we have to finally study this gas, the electrons coming out of it, high energy electrons, so that also becomes a problem. But when we put X-rays on a beryllium based indicator and then we study it, we just have to provide one chamber. no such, no such problems of keeping a gas here, and then after that, because keeping a gas again becomes problematic, and then having high energy electrons here, again having, having their interaction on some surface, and then from this surface study the properties. No such problem here. Just you have to just study the scattered or reflected light. And anyways, lighter materials are better here compared to gas, because lighter materials, they require less cost, etc., to finally have these, like to have study these, to keep these for studies. And then we also, we can easily, have interaction of such type of uh, x-rays with lighter materials. So there is convenience, there is cost issue also here, and then the overall efficiency also. So that's why it happens. Financial year ends. Yes, yes, yes. So there is new start of new financial year. The older financial year ends. So we have, March rush sort of phenomena. Earlier it was March rush. Now also in April, lot of GST filings are done, because of the last, final cutoffs of that. Because of budget, the demand increases in the economy, hence the tax collection. Yes, so financial year still ends in March only, although for budget, although the process of budget and presentation we have shifted a little bit. But yes, primarily you people are right, because of the shifting of financial year. Now what we have to do, there is now a decrease. So is it a cause of worry, people here, that there is decrease in the GST tax collection? Is it really a cause of worry? Because I personally don't think that's a cause of worry. December, anyways, December means we are past Diwali, means we are past all the festivals, like past Chhat also of November month. So we are past the major festival time, past Dashera also. So I think after festivals, because during festivals, what will happen? Consumption will rise. Consumption will rise means goods supply will increase, goods purchase will increase. So anyways, GST tax collections on majority of the goods, they'll increase. But in December, no such major festival. Yes, there is New Year and Christmas, but less impact on the Indian market, as we can understand. So what will happen here? So I don't think that's a cause of worry. Primarily, if you see, the collections have increased. Now, in this context, because more than 5 years have passed, still GST is asked in the exam. So let us revise all the basics of the GST. So here I would like to ask about one nation, one tax. So why GST is, a move towards one nation, one tax? Before that, I would ask one thing. What do you mean by value added tax here? What do you mean by value added tax, people? And was it used in earlier times by central government or state government? Which of the levels of the government used to have this value added tax as per your opinion? I'll give an example. Suppose this is a farmer, he is growing wheat. Now this wheat is going into the flour mill. Now we have flour. From flour, we have biscuits into a factory. Factory is manufacturing biscuits. Then these are going into market. Then in this context, just slightly explain what do you understand by value added tax, or what, which level of the government used to apply this value added tax here. So that is my question, people. State, yes, Gopi, you are right. State government used to apply value added tax. So what used to happen? Different state governments, different VATs, A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. Now, after that, what will happen here? If different state governments will have different value added taxes, that means, no uniform taxation. Uniform taxation nahi hai, that means problems in interstate transaction also. Apart from that, because these are being applied, suppose this wheat was of 20 rupees per kg. Now there is some value add. Flour, suppose 50 rupees per kg. Here we applied some tax on this 30 rupees added. After that, let's suppose this is 100 rupees per kg. Now 50 rupees again increase. Now we'll apply on this 50 rupees also. So look what we are doing. There is taxation here also. Again, there is taxation on the same quantity of flour. So sort of there is double taxation here. Are we able to understand the concept here of double taxation, people? Tax imposed on the processing. Yes, Amod, tax imposed on the value added at every stage of making of the biscuit. right since making of floor to making of other materials in between. So that is there. Border crossing tax, yes, Gopi. So while interstate transaction, during interstate selling of goods on borders, there will be problems. So these two type of problems, primarily tax on every value. That means, cascading effect is here. Cascading. What does cascading mean here? Cascading matlab ki double taxation, multiple taxations, providing a cascade of these taxes, and there will be issues. Why? You are having double taxation in a way. What used to happen here? So uniform, so this is not uniform. The tax is not uniform. So what did the prime minister say at that point of time? We'll have one nation, one tax. That means we'll streamline, just like there is streamlining of other countries also. Like in Australia also we have GST. Multiple countries we have GST. So based on those lines, we'll have GST. What did we do then? We had introduced 101st constitutional amendment. Yes, people, do you remember the passing of these amendment? This amendment was there. It amended some articles. Let's remember the important articles. Article 246 clause A, then article 279 clause A. I think this is related to GST council. Let us discuss this later on, but this was primarily related to the center's taxation powers. Earlier, what was the scenario? As I have discussed also, Amod, yes, cascading means compounding of the taxes. Yes, this happens. So Article 246A, let's discuss. What was Article 246? What is seventh schedule of the Constitution, people? What do we mean by seventh schedule here? Anyone who can tell about seventh schedule? Acha, about seventh schedule, you might be able to tell that okay, different levels of governments have different taxation, different powers, like powers of legislation divided into different levels as per seventh schedule. Central government powers are different, state government powers are different. So there are three lists: center list, state list, union list, state list, and then we have concurrent list also. Concurrent means where both center and state can make laws. Now, in terms of taxation also, because the general powers of legislation are being divided as per seventh schedule into these three lists, that means the powers of taxation will also be divided as per these three lists. That is why when powers of taxation will be divided as such into these three lists, so there might be certain entries into state list, certain entries into center list, and certain entries into concurrent list. So yes, Amod, list of subjects referred for each level for legislation. And that's why revenue power also, Gopi, will be divided into these three lists. Now what will happen is that, look, center had multiple powers. As we have seen, VAT, the power to apply VAT was with center. Important subjects were with, the power of VAT was with states. Now, important subjects were with center. What important subjects were with center? Like corporate tax, after amendment, income tax, and so on and so forth. Double taxation is there. Now, in this, what happened was that concurrent list was without any taxation power. Concurrent list, no such taxation power was earlier. Now, what has happened after GST? We have said that there will be a multi-tiered structure. You see, in democracy like India, entire change cannot happen at once. That you once have, abolish all the powers of the state government and then give all the powers of taxation to the center. Because we are a democracy, the state governments would not agree to it. That is why what we have is here that in terms of goods and services, we have given the power of taxation to center. The goods and services produced, like excise powers and all of that. But with regard to states also, there is powers of taxation for the goods manufactured and sold inside that state itself. And that will also come under purview of GST. That would be called as state GST. But that will be to state government. That will be provided to that state government within that state. That is intra-state. Matlab, very little complexity. Now, there are certain objects which come under the purview of the central government, that these are sole priority of central government for taxation. That means there will be state GST, central GST, and these will solely go to center. No such complexities. But when there is interstate transaction, what will happen here? When there will be interstate transaction from one state to another, then center will levy these based on IGST, integrated GST, and then will provide it to state. So there is multi-tiered structure based on different GSTs. This is the idea. Earlier, what was happening? The power of decision of taxation of VAT was with the state governments, and there was no uniform taxation rate. But now, even if you are applying the state GST inside a particular state, because that comes under purview of GST, so the rates of it are decided by majority voting inside GST Council itself, for which we'll see further. So this is how uniformity is being brought, both intrastate, center GST that will be decided, and regarding IGST also. Now in this, there is a common question here which often people ask here, which we anyways many of you might be knowing. So try guessing it. It's a simple answer that suppose there are two states here, one Chhattisgarh, one MP. Now since a bicycle is being made in MP and is sold to Chhattisgarh, then which of the states will be provided the tax of this bicycle which is being sold? The tax will be levied by the center here because there is interstate transaction, interstate movement, but then professional tax with ceiling of 2,500. Yes, that also Amod comes under the purview of state government. So yes. So regarding bicycle, which of these states will get the GST of these bicycle people? If you can tell about it, which of these states will get the GST? Till then, I'll just explain about GST Council till the answers come up. About GST Council, that we discussed that, okay, rates are decided by GST Council. What do we mean by it? Look, because this is about harmonization and uniformity. So there should be some mechanism, some technology. The government has also said that GST Council is a technology of fiscal federalism in India. Matlab, technology for cooperation among the multiple levels like the center and the state governments here. This is the idea here. So what is happening inside GST? There is representation of both states as well as center. Hai. So now in this representation, it is chaired by finance minister. And what will happen then? What is happening is that there are certain voting powers here, like there is certain proportion of voting powers here, like 1/4 representation is of center here, 3/4 representation is of the states here, and there is, there is voting required and majority if 2/3 of, there is majority here. If they agree here based on certain majority, then only this decision will be taken forward here by the GST Council. So this is the idea of GST Council here. How does it help? It helps in cooperation. The central government cannot impose its mandate on the states here. This is the idea of the GST Council and how it is helping in federalism, collective decision making without any imposing. So they decided the rates, and now what is happening? Now we'll come to further because the answers have come up. So Gopi has said that this is consumed by Chhattisgarh. So this is destination based tax. Amod, yes, nice. So this is destination based tax. Matlab this bicycle will go to Chhattisgarh. So Chhattisgarh will be provided the benefits because this is the final destination of the taxes. So this is destination based tax. And that is the next feature of it, that this is destination based tax. And then further, what is happening? Because we have to grow as an economy, because after producing of the goods, if we export it outside the country, it will be good, it will be better for our economy. So to have incentivization, what we are doing, to have, to compensate for it, that okay, you are exporting, we want to incentivize you. So all the GST which you have paid here will come back to you in the form of input tax credit. So what will happen? Ultimately, you paid some GST for exports, but then again the same charges are coming back to you, which you can further utilize. इसको next time आप utilize कर सकते हो to pay such type of taxes, the same input tax credits. That means your exports do not have virtually any type of rate imposed here. That means these are zero rated taxes, zero rated exports we have. So this is also one of the features of GST as a tax here. So it is 75% to states. Decision is taken by 3/4 majority, but representation, yes, that is what I wanted to say here. So what is there? There is 1/3 and 2/3. Like 1/3 seats are given to center, 2/3 seats are given to state here. And when these are there, now look, there is 66% reservation, 66% seats for the center here. Now if let's suppose we keep some criteria higher than 66%, let's suppose if we keep it around 70% or 80%, then some seats, some representatives of the center also will have to agree for this decision. And that is why we have kept it as 75%, that if 75% majority is there into the GST council, then it so happens that the decision is finally done as the decision is finally taken into change here. So this is the idea here. So the rates will be decided. Most of the rates regarding the GST council, regarding the GST, are most of the decisions are taken by the GST council in this manner. So this was the idea here. Now what will happen here? So this is zero rated exports mechanisms. We have mechanisms for threshold also. Now I'll ask something. Suppose there is a small businessman and they have to come under the GST purview because they are micro, small, medium enterprises. Let's suppose they have a turnover of around 15 to 18 lakhs. Now they want to now the government has said that there will be GST for everyone. So let's suppose they came into GST. Now this small firm, they have less capacity here compared to the larger firm. They don't have support of all those CAs and all of that, like an army of auditors, an army of tax filers, and so on and so forth. They are not well versed that much with technology. Most of these firms have lower capacity, as well as problems with respect to digital technological literacy, also problems with respect to handling of the mechanisms here. Now what is happening? After that, we are saying that we have done a mechanism, GST network. All your taxes of GST, all the tax filing, all the reporting, all the tax filing is done through this network. This is a technology which was earlier being handled in the initial phases by ICICI, then taken over by the government. So this is now there. Now these people have to file this to the GST network, and there are multiple taxes, tax brackets. All the products are not into one tax bracket. There are multiple tax brackets: 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28% for certain products, primarily sin goods type of stuff. So there are multiple such levels. Now, will these people be able to understand all of this and file a consolidated report, tax filing through the help of GST network? And here the problem comes up. So that is why what will happen here? Now the government has said after GST that we'll have a composition scheme, and apart from that we'll have exemptions also. Like we have exemptions of thresholds. If your turnover is less than 20 lakh or 40 lakh, then you will be exempted. Above it also, if you have turnover like 75 lakhs or 1 crores, you can come into the composition scheme. Matlab, a tax which is pre-decided, a tax rate pre-decided, to do away with all these classifications of the input products these firms are using. So there are exemptions. First of all, blanket ban exemptions, blanket exemptions, that if your turnover is 15 lakh, easily less than 20 lakh, then you don't have to come under the GST regime. You can continue like that. If you are above also, there is composition. You can opt for the composition also. as a single mechanism, that so that you don't have to think about the multiple inputs and the multiple GST, the tax. So that's why we have composition also. This is also one of the features we have. Now we have covered so many features. We have covered dual structure, we have covered input tax credits, we have covered zero rated exports, we have threshold composition, threshold exemptions, composition, all that we have covered. Apart from that, in online we have seen there's a GST network that we have seen. Apart from that, if some firm tries to have profiteering here, like they say to the customers that look, our products are very expensive now because GST has been implemented, even though the tax, the tax implication on them might be around 1 rupees, they might be saying that look, we have had 10 rupee loss because of GST. So all that will pass on to the customers. So for that, we have formed national and anti-profiteering authority to ensure that no one is having anti-profiteering here. So this is also one of the incentives here to ensure that the price of goods does not provide a pain to the final customer here, that the people keep on buying and the supply is easily affordable to them. But then would these exempted firms be able to avail input tax credit? No, there will be a single tax here, so that's why there is that's the problem here, that how they'll be able to have the input tax credit here. So that is there, but at least there is simplification by composition, that the rate is decided and then based on that we don't have any complications. Anyways, for smaller firms it is a challenge that how do they utilize the input tax credits. So, and anyways, that doesn't come in the form of cash. Input tax credit you can further utilize for claiming further tax benefits. So that's why also if some firm wants to choose composition, they can choose the composition scheme also. So this is about the GST, the basic features, and overall. So overall, you can see that because of the news that GST tax, that has declined. The collections have declined in December. That's why we have, although they are still higher than December 2022. That's why we discuss the basic features. I hope it is understandable. If it is understandable, you can also write yes in the comment boxes. This was what I wanted to discuss. That this is how you have to have your news in the form of analysis, and you need to keep on revising the basics while looking at the newspaper. So that was it. Now coming to the next news. Next news is about center's clarification of Hattis to get the ST stages. So what is there? Look, this is the map of Himachal Pradesh. Now there are multiple districts, Lahul and Spiti. We have Lahul and Spiti River here, Chamba, Kangra. You see, this is Dharamshala, famous tourist spot. And these are districts of Bilaspur, Una, and all near to Punjab. This area is near to Punjab border. Solan, we have Shimla as a famous tourist spot here. Kullu, Manali, also Kullu, Mandi, all these districts. Kinnor on the border side. These are bordering to Uttarakhand, and similarly, there's a district called Sirmur. Now, what happens? There's a tribe here called Hatti, and these tribes are generally in scheduled caste status. But now, what the government is saying, what the president said, that there are these transgiri tribes. That means there are these mountainous hills. You might be knowing different levels of Himalayas here, and higher Himalayas, greater Himalayas, middle Himalayas, Pir Panjals. So across this mountain ranges also, in the trans region of these mountain ranges, there are Hatti community, and they are considered to be more marginalized compared to the community which is there across the mountains. Across the mountains, they have already got the scheduled caste status, but the president wanted that across this, in the trans region, we wanted to have the scheduled tribe. And here lies a question that whether these communities, these people who have already had the SC status, should they also come under ST status? And here there was clarification that no, they should not come under the ST status. And now again from here a debate arises which has been continuing from the last year. And generally because when we don't focus on the process, we know the articles of the constitution, but we should now focus on the process also, because the nature of questions of polity are getting complicated little bit. The pattern has already changed in all other subjects, but now the polity questions also are getting a bit complicated. So that is why we should understand the process of inclusion of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes into the category. So are you aware about articles of the constitution? Which articles of the constitution govern the reservation? Which articles provide the power to president to include any community into SC or ST status people? Are you aware about that? Any article number you would want to quote? So before that, I would tell you some ways till the answers come up, because people need time to think. Till the answers come up, I would tell about little bit about the process here, that there might be different ways. Let's suppose there's a state government, like we discussed here, there is Himachal Pradesh government. So from Himachal Pradesh, this demand might come up. Now there is, you might be aware, there are some bodies, National Commission for Scheduled Castes, there's National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. Do tell about the articles of these bodies also here. So they can also suo moto say that no, we have studied a procedure, we have studied the condition of these community, A or B community, and we want SC or ST status for them. This can also happen at some places in some states. Let's suppose there's C community, they feel very marginalized. They themselves can demand, as communities, as people keep on demanding that, look, you provide us reservation. National Commission on Scheduled Tribes. Amod, yes, National Commission on Scheduled Tribes is there, but under which article? President can issue an order. President can determine that which of the communities are eligible to have quota either under SC or ST status. That I'm asking about. If you can, if you don't know the answer, it's okay. You can Google also and then tell. Just wanted to have some interaction so that we can remember all this. So this is their marginalized. So there might be multiple ways here. Demand coming from state government, demand coming from NCSC or NCST, demand coming from community or people themselves. Now there should be one process to streamline out of it, to streamline entirely, and that should not go against the spirit of the constitution also, people. Constitution articles, because the constitution is a power map, है ना? That will only describe about the power, who has the power to say that a community comes under this list or that list, or does not come under any list. But about beyond that, what should be the procedure? And that is a debate here. So here what happened, we have an article 342 inside constitution, stating that the president can have any community included in the SC or ST status in the list which is there for the reservation. So that is there. Now beyond this, there are multiple ways. So to streamline, the government issues orders from time to time. Like suppose there is this order, see this order, Scheduled Tribes Order 1950, which has been updated now. These type of orders, as you can see, I'm zooming it. So these type of orders are often, I'm not able to remember, but I would guess Article 263, 263A. That is that related to Interstate Council? Yes, Amod, that is 342. So, Gopi, are you able to understand? What are we discussing here? There is this order. This order derives its power from your articles of constitution, like Article 342 itself. They derive their power from the constitution, but they are issued by the government to have the process streamlined here for the reservation. Because look, the demand can come from multiple sides and you need to have one single process here. So that is why we have these orders. Now, as per these orders, what is the process? So what is there? Now, among these, what do you feel in the original order? Who will have the prominence here? Who should be asked here about whether these community, what is the status of these community? Who should be asked? Are you able to understand that, look, state governments have an important role here because they are the governments at the ground level actually. Panchayats came on later in independence. NCST came on later as a constitutional body. NCSC came on later, but states were there. And states have an important role here. They have, they are constitutional in nature. States, because states were there right since the formation of constitution. So what is there? The process either coming it from either side. Suppose this is coming from suo moto recognition of NCSC or NCST, that will be sent to the states. Even in case of suo motu, that will be sent to the states. For their if there is suo motu, they'll be sent to the states whether these communities should be included or excluded. If it is coming from the state assembly by passing a resolution by simple majority, then also very nice. If it is coming from community and the community has given to NCST, community says, look sir, ma'am, the state does not listen to us, you do something for us, even then the NCST will send it to the states for their opinion. After that, because this was modified in July 1999, these orders, and as per the latest orders only, this is the process. So this is just little bit written about modifications, that after this it will go to NCST. Even then there is this NCST representations. This is as per modification. After forming of NCST, what will be there? That I have already discussed. Even if that is there, this will again go to states. After that, what will happen? After states, it will go to Union Ministry. If it is for STs, it will go for Union Ministry of Tribal Affairs. It will, if it is for ST, it will go to the relevant ministry like Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Either ways, it will go to the union, ministry, the relevant union ministry for its opinion, for its recommendation. Both of these have to agree. States as well as the ministries have to agree. After that, what will we do? Look, they'll examine about the backwardness of that community, about the situation of that community. But what is the population of that community? What is the majority area of living of that community? What did the census say about all of that? For that, the opinion has to go to Registrar General of India under Home Ministry, because they look after all these matters. Look, this is a complex issue. There will be multiple filters here. And this is what has been done here. So we'll go to the Registrar General of India, and after their approval, this will further go to relevant authority, either NCSC or NCST. For STs, NCST; for SCs, NCST. So NCSC. So this happens to the authority. And now this is true. This has to be remembered that state, the ministry, the RGI, the NCSC or NCST, all of them have to agree. All of them have to provide that approval. Even if one of these levels reject the recommendation here, reject the inclusion of the community, that matter is solved. Then that matter is not taken up. So this is the idea here, that they have to agree here, all of them, and then finally by NCST, this is either approved or rejected. Rejected means as it is. If it is approved, it further is examined by interministerial discussions and then sent to cabinet, and then there'll be amendment to the constitution as per the order, and then that will be approved by the president. And as per this entire process goes on. So this is the entire process. Why are we discussing it? If any question comes up in your prelims about the process, and you see about the overall, you are at least able to have guesswork, that if any pair based questions is asked about permissions, about the process, about the levels, so on and so forth. Typical bureaucracy and duplication of efforts and resources. Amod, that is right. But yes, we can recommend that there should be some parliamentary committee to deliberate upon this, to simplify the process. So you have thought of a right angle, that there is duplication of process, but because reservation is a serious matter, and so that's why also we can understand there will be multiple bodies involved here. So that is there. So this is there. And in fact, multiple communities in the past 1 year have been provided a reservation. So this is the process here. So let's move to the next article about India Korea defense cooperation. So what is the trigger here of this news? Trigger is that there is this chief of army staff, General Manoj Pandey, and he went to Republic of Korea. There was visit of him into Republic of Korea to define India Korea defense relationship. Now my answer is, why are we focusing on our relations with South Korea, and why with such a country like South Korea we are having defense partnership, or we are thinking of defense partnership here? Can you differentiate, or can you locate where is Korea compared to Japan and Taiwan here? So let's look at this till the answers come up. think of why we are focusing on Korea with regard to defense partnerships. Till then, I'll just explain. Till the answers come up, I'll explain about the locations here. So look, let's suppose this is a very crude map. People, please don't judge my drawing. I'm very bad at it. So this is let's suppose this is the coast of China. This is Southeast Asia, Malayan Peninsula, and then this is connecting and so on and so forth. This is Vietnam. Just let's assume it like that. Then we have the Korean Peninsula here. We have 38th parallel here. We have North Korea. We have South Korea. You know? Now just remember that because North Korea often faces, they fire missiles into the sea. And when they fire, the Japanese are often scared. So why they are scared? Because they are just neighboring. They have maritime boundary with North Korea and South Korea. So just remember it like that. You will be able to remember it that way, that we have Japan here. So this we saw. Now, to the south of these, we have Taiwan, near to Macau and Hong Kong. So this is overall about the geography part here. Necklace of diamond against the string of pearls. So yes, Amod, you are again a good answer, good key terms. So we'll now explain that. So why we are focusing on South Korea? Because North Korea is anyways considered an apostate state of China. Now what is there? They have support of China. South Korea and Japan both feel threatened by it. Japan, they have amended their constitution for focusing on nuclear energy and militarization. But since we need further partners who are having high capacity in terms of economic partnership, because South Korea is a tiger economy, they have good relations with the USA. US has involved, US has deployed THAAD here, terminal high area altitude defense missile. This was in controversy, people. That is why I'm stating it, not going into the detail of it. But just remember that there was this controversy of THAAD. So that's why North Korea was threatened, that why South Korea has installed THAAD given by the US here. Then they have high capacity, high resources. So that is why. And because South Korea feels a threat from North Korea and China, that's why we need to have better defense partnership with South Korea, because our strategic objectives are somehow aligning here. Our strategic objectives are aligning, and that is why we should have better partnership with South Korea. So this is given. Now, apart from that, they in the article what they have told, that India should not be short-sighted. It should not be devoid of its strategic partnerships, because it's not just about China threat, but overall an arc which is forming up with respect to China, North Korea, and Russia in the north. Why? Because Russia is feeling more and more isolated after Ukraine war, and there are sanctions on Russia by the West. So Russia is searching for partnerships. China is the new partner. They have the new Bonhomme, and then included with it North Korea. There might be an entire East Asian geography here, which might turn hostile. India, meanwhile, has good relations with Russia. We recently, S. Jaishankar recently went to Russia, and there were good statements here. But we should understand that these statements are because of the defense imports from Russia. Somehow we'll have to think, we'll have to deliberate and renew our policy. Somehow we'll have to recalibrate. Why? Because we know that defense, there is this bonhomie of Russia and China, and there is greater and greater polarization. Likewise, if we go completely towards US, then there are problems. Why? Because USA, Western countries, they see India as a swing state, a state to be used and then thrown away, sort of. But India does not see itself in this manner. That's why India doesn't completely agree to the West, either be it Ukraine war, oil sanctions, or be it Khalistan issue. So we are searching for new partners. Who are these new partners? Basically, your middle powers like Korea, like Australia or UK or France. Why we are including South Korea in middle powers? Because resource wise and per capita GDP wise, if we see, they have high technology also, resources also. So they have the potential for that. So that's why we need to cooperate with South Korea in terms of their cyber warfare, cyber security, high tech digital. because South Korea is anyways high-tech digital power, and so on and so forth. And we should also conduct peacekeeping exercises and contribute to peacekeeping more, because this area, this South China Sea, is now more prone to disturbances, more prone to conflicts. That is why. And then further forward, we should also focus on providing humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, because this is based on earthquake prone, tsunami prone region. So this will somehow consolidate our partnership with South Korea. Are we able to understand it? You can say yes in the comment boxes, why we are having this you see why we are having this partnership. Regarding the statement, so what China is doing, string of pearls around India, developing a necklace sort of phenomena. So this is India, Indian Ocean. This is South China Sea. Let's assume China. So it is developing a string of pearls around India. And then what India is doing, India also it's developing its counter pearls, like partnership, having established base in Djibouti, or having Sabang base in Indonesia, or having partnership with Korea or Japan as a counter necklace, as we have said, necklace of diamond, as someone has mentioned. So that's a good term. So this is what we are doing, so that we don't feel encircled in the Indian Ocean itself. And if we don't feel encircled, we can easily have trade, ships travel here. We can easily, this is Sri Lanka, ships travel here. We can easily, you see, our navies can operate here. We'll have our hegemony as was traditionally there in the Indian Ocean region, and so on and so forth. So this is the idea, this is the concept here. So this is what we can mention as conclusion in your answers also, that's why India and Korea, that's why we should have such type of partnerships, and such type of partnerships with the middle nations here. So that is there. Now coming forward to the next article, what is the importance of this next article? Who was R. Venkatraman, people? Who was R. Venkatraman? Any idea about R. Venkatraman, the president, erstwhile president, and then before that also RBI governor? Why we are discussing about this personality here? Because this topic is important in multiple topics here. So Amut, semi-periphery and world systems will discuss some other day, because again that will make the issue complicated. I think topic complicated for most others, but I'll respond in the end of this discussion so that we'll be able to understand it. So next further, this was RBI governor. Why this issue is important? Because this issue is related to LPG reforms, the balance of payment crisis. You might have heard of this term, which was happening earlier. The balance of payment crisis which happened, which forced us to have LPG. The IMF also sort of arm twisted us to bring LPG reforms, and and then we had LPG reforms based on the IMF's, the world's Washington consensus. Based on that, this is just a key term to remember, nothing else. So this is about that how R. Venkatraman as a personality handled the balance of payment crisis. He had instilled some measures, and because of these two measures itself, as is given in the article, we finally had the problem which was tackled. The problem did not aggravate much. And after that, we had LPG crisis, LPG reforms by our Finance Minister Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Narsimha Rao. So this is about that. Now, what do we need to remember here? We can just understand what we can say here. This is about crisis management. This is about your in values. This is also about integrity. How does integrity as a value help in long term, as a utilitarian measure also, not just as a matter of principle? Having honesty not just as a matter of principle, but also in terms of achieving good ends, good outcomes in the end. This story is about that. And it's also about how you see how after this, because this was there, that how R. Venkatraman was always open to the opinion of people, and how he utilized it for the benefit and welfare of the nation. So this is also about openness, transparency, allowing the minority view to, allowing different sections of people to express their views, and so on and so forth. So this is about all of that. And how this is about all of that, let's discuss it. So people, are you aware that we had pledged some gold What was happening? What is balance of payment crisis? What do we mean by balance of payment, people? What do we mean by balance of payment? Any questions? Till the questions come up, I'll just explain the scenario. What was happening here? We had our import cover was declining. For importing, we had less funds left here. So, because we had less funds left here, now the question was that we had already taken loans from outside to import. Remember Rajiv Gandhi era, 1980s, before that, Rajiv Gandhi, US studied, he focused on technology, we focused on even importing computers because we thought that this will help in long run. Likewise, we were importing most of the stuff in our economy. Why? Because there was socialism in our country, streaks of socialism, our own versions of socialism, less efficiency in production, so more imports from outside, import dependency was a lot. So what was happening? Now to fund these imports, we were taking loans. Now, this is a bad economic decision, almost a disaster. Why? Because if you want to fund it through loans, it will cause problems of funds. Now, once you have very little funds left, once you have less import cover left, almost to the amount of 2 weeks that you have funds only to cover your 2 weeks of import with the RBI. What will the government do then? What will the RBI do then? They'll need something to fill up that loans, because what will happen then? We'll tell these agencies, these countries, that look, we are pledging you something. Suppose you have a car with you, you have to pay loan of it. Now suppose you need fund to pay that car loan, you need money for that. Let's suppose you are making your house, you are pledging your house, you are giving security papers of your house to the financial institution, to some financial institution, stating that look, I am pledging my house to you, you give loan to me, hard currency loan in rupees. Now I'll use this hard currency to pay back my car loan, and I have a plan of reforms. I'll now practice more austerity. I'll do less expenditure. I'll produce more. I have income source plans in future from which I'll generate income, and I'll pay back this hard currency loan which you have given to me in pledge of my house, in pledge of security of my house. That also I'll pay back. So this is one analogy to understand that look, we had to pay back some loans, we had to get some hard currency to import essential goods. What type of essential goods? Food products, fuel products, petrol. Without petrol, how will your economy function? Most of the crude oil we import, right? What did we do? We pledged gold, we pledged our gold to the external agencies, to United Kingdom and to Union Bank of Switzerland also, to Bank of England and Bank of Switzerland. And this was the decision of R. Venkatraman as governor of RBI. Why? Look, we easily might have defaulted on our loan. हमको पे बैक नहीं करना, हमारे पास पैसा नहीं है. That we could have done. Sri Lanka also has done in recent times. You might have heard of Sri Lankan crisis, but India did not choose to do it. We chose to have integrity and honesty because India knew that हम इतना सारा oil import करते हैं, we always need dollars, we always need funds. If we do not pay back, countries, external players will never trust us, and this will destroy our credibility, and then again will not get any funds in future, which will again lead to balance of payment crisis. No funds, no investments in India because of lack of trust. How will the economy grow in future? How will we be out of such crisis if ever such crisis happens in future? This was our perspective, long term vision of the policymakers, and this is how you have to connect it to integrity in your ethics paper. And that's why what happened, we pledged gold, but this was not the solution, just taking loan to again import something. We have to at least have some measures. That's why RBI had taken import compression measures. Just remember these terms. Import compression. What does import compression means? That means raising your duty on imports. Today, suppose this is 50 rupees, let's raise it to 100 rupees. So raising your margin on imports, the margin which you are taxing. Why? Why raising? People will be discouraged. देखो, long term में this is problematic, I understand. Why long term में it is problematic? Imports आप raise करोगे, import cost, then it will cost, it will burn a hole in the pocket of the consumer. Final consumer will have to pay. But short term measures were required, emergency times they. So that's why we had import compression. Finally, what happened? This led to decrease of imports. Decrease of imports matlab less cost required, less funds required. Less funds mean, that means no need of taking loan to import something. And meanwhile, just after that, this happened in 1992. Just after that, we had LPG reforms. मतलब कि उसी टाइम पर, at the same time in economy, bring up liberalization, privatization, globalization, so that economy opens up, your economy grows, and you are able to fund your imports, and you're able to increase your exports. And how did this happen? Because R. Venkatraman was very open as a person. There were research papers written in criticism of RBI, but when he was RBI governor, he used to invite and he used to discuss these research papers with the economists, and he did not use to discard anything against being said against the RBI. He never used to discard those, and then he used to accept those. And finally, when LPG crisis happened, when balance of prime crisis happened, LPG came up. We were having discussions with IMF. What happened? R. Venkatraman utilized the same discussions he had done with expert economists to provide very good points about actual state of Indian economy. That look, it it is actual state of Indian economy which is there here. And this is how in state of Indian economy is there. So that is why we need to have taken these steps. We need to have taken some steps compared to what you are saying. So this was the discussions which were happening, and this helped in his discussions putting forward his assertive stand in front of the IMF. So this is also about how transparency, culture of transparency, discussions, debate, how allowing of debate, how freedom of expression, accepting those counterpoints to you by humility, humbleness, how that helps in achieving good productive outcomes in long run, and how this increases your credibility in long run. So this is how you can mention in your answers. And this is what was the crux of this article basically about R. Venkatraman. Are we able to understand this? Amod has mentioned about visionary decision essay of essay 2023. Means yes, these are the sort of visionary decisions. These are the type of visionary decisions which are required in a democracy, and that is why in democracy, that is the logic of democracy, that we never try to suppress debate discussion here. So this is the idea here. Now coming back to this, because this is a very long article, I would just, there is lot of historical analysis here, because anyways there is lack of time. I understand you people have to prepare also. So I would just discuss the idea, not about the evolution, because in science and tech in UPSC exams, it doesn't come like how this concept evolved and what was earlier before that, not in that detail, just the concept of technology. What is the concept of technology? What do you mean by isotopes, people? Carbon isotopes. What is the meaning of different isotopes? Are we aware about it? There are different isotopes like carbon 12, like carbon 14. That means, as we have read in school times, atoms having same atomic number but different weights. Atomic number is same for both carbon 12 and carbon 14, 6 only, but atomic weights are different. Why? Because here it is 12, it is 14. So this is childhood, this is school time sort of knowledge. If you don't know it, you can just read it in your basic NCERT 6 to 10. Not, I think most of us are aware of it. So atomic number, atomic weights. Now what will happen? Properties will change a little bit. Now here properties will change. Those are utilized for certain applications. In science, we never, lose any opportunity, any such opportunity. So carbon 14. Now what happens? Carbon 14 is, an isotope of carbon which is available in our atmosphere. It is available already. When cosmic waves strike our atmosphere, they produce this carbon 14 by interaction with the atmosphere. In atmosphere, we have CO2. So in atmosphere, there is a constant presence. In living forms, you and me, human beings, animals, plants, all living forms, there is certain proportion of carbon 14. Because these are living, They keep on exchanging the carbon 14 with the atmosphere. So the carbon 14 remains like that. The proportion remains almost constant at all the time. But then what happens when this dies? Suppose when I die, now after that, what will happen? Because carbon 14 has a lifetime of around more than 5,500, half lifetime, matlab half of the carbon 14 integrates, disintegrates, decays. Then what will happen? Carbon 14 will decay, and carbon 14 will decay. The proportion here will reduce. Automatically, these type of particles, they decay into the atmosphere, they die their natural death. And because carbon 14 has a high sort of half lifetime, 5 point more than 5,500 years, that means we can calculate it. To calculate the cost of, to calculate the age of thousands of years of old particles. Suppose you discover something around Harappan time periods. How do you know it belongs to Harappan time period? You just calculate the amount of carbon 14. As and when the age will pass from 2000 years ago to 1000 to 500 to present times, the proportion of carbon 14 will keep on declining. And you will just notice the decline in carbon 14. And as per that, you will calculate when this particle belonged to which age this was alive, and when did this particular object die. This is the idea of carbon 14. Just this much we have to remember, not that much, because anyways, this will the evolution of it, what was before that, who were the people involved. This is generally not asked in exam until and unless that discovery had got Nobel Prize in recent times. So this is the idea. Are we able to understand what I was mentioning here, people? Are we able to understand, students? What is the concept? So till the comments do come up, I'll just mention another news article. This is about a quote. Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus has been convicted. There's some internal problems with Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, with Muhammad Yunus. Will not go into politics. Just we need to understand that this man was crucial in formation of Grameen Bank in 1970s in Bangladesh. And what the idea was that we need to have self-help groups of women. Women will come together. They are vulnerable sections. So these are women, let's suppose. They need to come together. They need to form their groups. And you see, there is strength in unity, as we say. So they'll have greater bargaining power with banking institutions also. They'll easily be able to arrange credit. They'll be easily able to set up small units like toy making or any such units in their villages, handkerchief making, so on and so forth, silai, kadai ka kaam, whatever. And then they'll be able to have income generated for themselves, and they'll be able to have their situation of family also improved. Because when women earn in the family, they are able to fund the education of children, the health of children in a better manner compared to men also. Not comparing to men, but overall in general, microfinance institutions in developing countries for inclusive growth. Yes, Amud, that is what we are coming to. That's right. So SHGs are there. This idea was brought up by Muhammad Yunus. So this is the idea of microfinance. That means finance at a micro level, at a smaller level compared to finance at a larger level, like through banks, development institutions, long-term loans, and so on and so forth. So this is the idea here. Now that is why what happened, Muhammad Yunus was crucial in formation of SHGs, then also in Grameen Bank, which is a bank for microfinance institutions, to SHGs. And then from this, India also took up its lessons that India should also promote these. That is why for microfinance institutions, for funding agriculture on these lines, we had National Agricultural Bank for Rural Development, NABARD, coming up in 1982 for inclusive growth, for such microfinance, for funding agriculture, for funding the agricultural banks, for funding the Grameen banks in India also, we had NABARD. And then we had different initiatives like Andhra Pradesh, SHG bank linkage, and so on and so forth. So this is how this goes forward about SHG. So this is what we need to revise in terms of looking at this. So this is another news article. just stating, because what had happened, a victim was there, she was a minor, she was raped, assaulted, and then she was not able to recall the exact dates in FIR. She was traumatized, she was having some psychological issue because she is a minor. We should have humanity, we should have compassion, we should not focus on a rules bound process here. We should rather focus on the outcome, as we say, democratic process, democratic approach rather than bureaucratic approach. The seesaw of democratic versus bureaucratic approach should tilt in favor of democracy, should tilt in favor of outcome, better outcomes for marginalized sections. That is why when this victim, because of the discrepancy, had stated to the justice, to the local court, that please you do not destroy the CCTVs here, the main evidences here. The local courts should have listened and should not have destroyed the CCTVs. This is the idea here. Okay, so this is the idea that the High Court finally said. They pulled up the local courts and said that you should have all your values, and this you can mention as a passing reference in your ethics answers also. So this was about today. This is just a small news. Earthquake in tsunami. This will see some next time, like about earthquakes, ring of fire. That will be see, because more such news will be coming. Now, people, any such doubts you have with regard to the newspaper analysis, any such issues are we having, or we want to ask something, or we want to suggest what format, what changes we should further bring, there's always scope for improvement into this news analysis. You can mention in the comment boxes as a form of feedback. So I'll just wait up for a few seconds further, and then we'll try to wrap it up. So thank you so much, people, for coming here and for studying that much dedicatedly. uh, and I have gratitude for everyone here who comes up at the decided time on a daily basis. So yes, people, any doubts, anything we have to mention here, anything we want to ask here? Okay, all right. So I think everything is clear. You can further contact us for anything, and then we'll meet tomorrow. So yes, thank you so much.